I'm going to get started framing those walls upstairs. Ola's going to be off work tomorrow. Boys are going to be gone this weekend. If I can get these walls framed up today, then she and I can work on drywall on the walls. We got it all picked up, quite a bit more than we had on the initial stuff. The 12 footers are mostly going to go on these walls. I've got some 10s and some 8s for a couple of spots, like inside of the battery room and outside of this space here. And I'm going to go frame up some walls real quick and see if I can get them stood and in place. And I've had the studs for these walls stacked up here on the floor about since I started framing the air compressor room and the stairs. I'm pretty sure I bought them at the same time. And I'm sure my thinking was that I wanted to get all the framing done and out of the way before we started any kind of drywall or moving on to that phase of things. However, as we started getting closer to that phase, we quickly realized that it would be much better if we put these walls up after the ceiling drywall was finished. The interior size of this room is 14 foot by 10 foot, and these are 2x6 walls. If we had done the drywall on the ceiling after these walls were up, it would have left us with a weird, skinny, narrow strip against the ceiling, and that would have left a lot more opportunity for that skinny little strip to flex and not be held so well. Since these walls are not load-bearing, we decided we would run the sheets all the way across in full widths to have the ceiling be a lot more rigid and sturdy, and then install these walls and not have to worry about the ceiling flexing so much. Since I was by myself today, it wasn't feasible for me to try going around and throwing 12-foot sheets of drywall up on the walls and fastening it into place, but I could definitely frame and install these walls for this room. I know I said these walls are not load-bearing, and thereby I could have definitely framed this on 24-inch centers without any problem. But I framed the wall below on 16-inch centers because I wanted the floor to be framed at 16-inch centers, and I have everything stacked so the floor joists line up directly with the studs that are supporting it, and then this wall, the studs line up directly with the joists and the studs below it. I probably could have saved a handful of studs by framing it that way instead, but I just felt better about doing it so that everything was stacked and everything lined up. Once I got the first wall framed, it stood up and went right into place just like any good wall should. It just took a little bit of talking to and some real gentle persuasion with the sledgehammer to get it right where it needed to be. In situations like this, the results are so much better if you can swing light with a heavy hammer versus swinging heavy with a light hammer, because otherwise, all you end up doing is beating the boards to death. I quickly realized that I had put a stud in here for the adjoining wall to butt up against, only I forgot that the other wall was going to come across the end of this wall instead. So I had to take it out real quick and straighten things out so that I could start framing the next wall to get ready to go together. This wall was going to be just a little bit trickier to get installed, mostly because of how it needed to come into place, as well as these two long wires that are hanging down from the ceiling needing to go in to the wall for the switch in the outlets. Now I could have pushed the wires back into the ceiling and then installed the walls and drilled the hole and then pushed the wires back down through and everything like that, but honestly I just didn't want to mess with it. So I decided I'd get it framed, measure mark the hole, and I could fit the wires through as I put the wall into place. The more complicated part, however, was going to be the doorway. I had already purchased the same exterior style door to go into this room that I have downstairs. However, that door requires an 82.5-inch tall rough opening, and as it turns out, my distance from ceiling to floor is only 81 inches. So that means that door is going to have to go back, and I'm going to have to use a different style door. I could have framed the walls downstairs a little bit shorter to make up that difference, and everything would have been fine. But honestly, it wasn't that critical for the upstairs room to have a certain height. The ceiling height was much more critical for the room downstairs, since it's the processing kitchen. The whole intention and purpose of this room is to serve as our power systems room, battery room, and our food storage room. Ceiling height is not critical for any of those items. Many times as we've talked with people about this shop, and then we mention that we're building a processing kitchen, immediately it seems they hear kitchen and think, oh, you're going to put a bedroom upstairs and have some sort of an apartment inside your shop. Absolutely not. Every square foot of this shop is built and designed for operational functionality of our farm and our lifestyle. The kitchen is not a kitchen, but a processing kitchen. We process and harvest our own animals on our farm, as well as wild game that we harvest. We also process all of our own produce from our gardens into jarred goods and food storage. The purpose of that kitchen is not to make meals on a daily basis for our family, rather to have a clean and sanitary space that we can effectively run through all of that processing in an efficient and healthy way. And as I mentioned earlier, the purpose of this room upstairs is to then store all of the efforts coming out of that processing kitchen, and also to house all of our infrastructure system components, like our batteries, inverters, solar charge controllers, Wi-Fi network extender, camera monitor systems, etc. The only reason that I'm insulating this room separate from the shop is just so that I can isolate the temperature in this room as needed. The next most frequent comment that we get is, oh, you'll convert this into your house eventually and move into here. That is also a hard no. We generally chuckle and think, why would we need a bigger box to put our bedroom in? We love our tiny little home, and it's very comfortable and cozy, and we don't need much more than that. Sure, we may make some improvements to it over time, but it fills our needs just fine. This shop is going to serve our needs in so many other ways and so much better as a shop, as it's designed, rather than any other way. And we couldn't be more excited to see how it's coming together and how it's shaping up. It makes us very excited to get started using it for all of its intended purposes. This wall here is going to be the main power control wall. Then I'll also have the inverters mounted here and the charge controllers. I think we talked about it, we plan on upgrading our battery banks when we move power into here. I think we've decided we're going to go with the server rack style batteries, just because there's a lot more connectivity and monitor systems that you can implement with those. It was good to complete that room, and it gets us excited to start filling it up with things of its intended purposes. But the following morning, before Ola and I could start working inside the shop, we needed to go take care of a little bit of farm chores first. The goats were in need of another bale of hay, and the pigs needed to be fed. Ola does not like climbing into the pen with the pigs and spreading the feed for them. She gets a little bit nervous when they get coming up against her and all greedy about the food. With the pigs fed, it was time for the goats to get a fresh bale. So Ola monitored the gate for me while I went in here to get it cut open and spread out a little bit. While I was in here, I had to play Ring Around the Rosies with that little goat again to check her ligaments. She's our first one due, and it could be any day now. So I was thinking maybe, like, if we have just solid wall of jars. That's a 14-foot wall, 2 foot deep of jars. That's plenty of room, right?
Yeah, it's excellent. And then here, it'll probably come along later.
Yeah, we also have dry goods that we try to store, like, and most of that's bucket storage. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe buckets underneath this.
I want to make kombucha one of these days, and it needs to be a dark, cool area, so I could have a kombucha tray here somewhere too. You
could put your cheese fridge right here for your pressed wheels of cheese that keep them in a comfortable, even temperature.
Sure could.
Easier. That's why I wanted an outlet there. Then I figured probably just one outlet on this wall, the same way. Mm-hmm. This is going to be all the power stuff, but none of that requires outlets, right? But I'm like, well, we know we're talking about transferring our Wi-Fi antenna to the barn, so this might be a good place to put the control center for that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think 1 or 2 plugs on this wall. We haven't purchased an interface module to connect our solar charger and inverters to monitor our power system. Whatever that module looks like, it's going to require power and it's going to require network. So there's things like that I'm like, well, let's probably have a little bit of power on this wall for that kind of stuff. This is plywood.
Oh, this is going to be all plywood?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize
because all that hardware is going to be mounted to the wall, remember? That's why we brought these sheets up.
Perfect.
So that gives us easy mounting for
and less money for me.
Yeah.
Good.
So this 3 walls is the only ones that will be drywall.
That's great.
So,
I literally can get started like tomorrow if we get everything up today.
If I throw a couple of boxes in and run the wire through, then this can all get drywalled. After our little chat to kind of recap where we are with things and get Ola up to speed on the work that I'd completed, it was time for us to get started getting some drywall up. First, I had to get some wires run through here, and I didn't have enough to get it all done, but I was able to get this first big pull through here, and the last little bit I can get from the inside the room before we hang the drywall. We didn't have a lot of time left in the day, but we wanted to try to get as many sheets up as we could feasibly within the time that we had. So we make a quick adjustment to the top platform height on our scaffold and decide it's time to get started throwing that drywall up.
Well, maybe it was fate when you walked in the door. I could have sworn I've seen your face before. So glad that you said hi, 'cause I was way too shy. What would have happened if you just had passed me by the night? We keep on drinking, keep on wishing for someone out there to hold. All those little moments, the bites you didn't catch me looking over your shoulder, just at the right time. Those little moments all led me to you. Only God knew about all those little moments. Well, maybe it was fate or a part of his plan. Giving me you was like giving me another chance. Thank God that you said hi, 'cause I was way too shy. What would have happened if you just had passed me by the night? We keep on drinking, keep on wishing for someone out there to love. All those little moments, the bites you didn't catch me looking over your shoulder, just at the right time. Those little moments all led me to you. Only God knew about all those little moments.
Ola's always said, if you hang it, I'll mud it and tape it. She's never been one to want to go and hang drywall. But in this case, I can't hang it on my own, and she's absolutely more than willing to help me get it into position and hang it. This is, however, her first time measuring and cutting a piece of drywall to fit the space, with the exception of maybe a small patch piece here or there. She did a great job, and it fit in the space just fine, without any problems. Besides that, she's the one gonna do the mud and taping, so if it doesn't fit the way she likes, she'll be okay with it. metrics.
I do like my metrics.
We're not quite half.
Okay.
I guess all in all, you know?
Yeah.
All this room is finished, which is nice.
Yep.
All the way to the outside. This whole wall's done. We can do the front wall and that side wall. That'll go really quick if we have the boys back. It'll go really quick. Mm-hmm. The back wall we didn't want to mess with because the pipe, we have the fire going and some pipes.
Hot, yeah. So
we don't want to mess with that today. It's like 1.5 sheet and 1.5 sheets with about 3 sheets.
Yep.
The front, we got 2 sheets above the door and 2 sheets next to the door. Feels good. I haven't got much done.
Yeah. I feel like my work schedule next week will probably allow for me to start mudding and taping.
Okay.
So I feel like we need to get on with that too, because when I look at the job profile, it's gonna be a minute.
You're gonna be at it for a minute.
Yeah. This will turn out great. I think it'll be a fine job to do.
It did come together nicely. I'm really happy to see all this. We got 3 walls left on the main shop. We still got to do drywall in here. We still got to do the drywall in the kitchen. But just to have the main shop able for you to take over and go for a minute. We've got a few things that still need some attention before the season breaks loose. I've got to get the excavator in here and get the glass changed, but it needs a full service top to bottom. Mm-hmm. The diesel Ranger, now we finally have a space to do it. We need to get that in here and get the transmission out of it, tore apart, replace the reverse gear. The tractor, man, I don't even want to think about putting that thing out of service for a minute, but it's got an engine oil leak, it's got a transmission oil leak, the brakes need to be replaced.
And then we have our farm truck.
I feel like it might have just gelled up. We just haven't put many miles on it, so I'm not sure that we've put any actual winter fuel in it, but it definitely acts like it's not getting fuel. We need to get that in here. I gotta get the dump truck in here.
Oh, we need the dump truck working.
The sooner I can get these things in here, the better off we'll be, because we go from this pace to like 3 times this.
Yeah.
When the weather breaks, and then it's 100 miles an hour nonstop.
Yeah, so as I mud and tape, Mark will be doing all those things, maybe.
Yeah. I gotta say though, after the entire all fall and all winter of working on the shop, I'm ready to hand it over to you for a minute for the construction things. Let you take over taping and joining. You do a great job with it, and you're plenty capable. You do a really good job. If you can spend your time doing the taping and mudding, then my time can be spent on other things, and I can kind of step away from the construction for a minute.
I'm telling you, if I could spend a good solid 2 to 3 days just getting the initial mudding on, the second and the third coat go a lot quicker, especially if I don't leave a lot of stuff to sand.
You spend a lot of time practicing your knife work, and you're pretty good at it so that you don't leave much to sand. Well, we're definitely in a warm before the storm. It was like 37. It's 35 right now. It's almost 9 o'clock. I just got home from the city. I had to run some errands and get some more pieces for the drywall stuff. I got our hot mud and our corner bead and some tape so we can get started with that stuff tomorrow. But we have a winter storm watch coming tonight. It's pretty substantial. They're saying that starting tonight and going through tomorrow into Wednesday morning. And it's supposed to be on the valley areas, it's supposed to be 5 to 10 inches. And the mountain areas are supposed to be 10 to 20 inches. So that's pretty substantial. So I got up here, I'm gonna get my materials unloaded into here real quick, but while I'm at it, I've got the loader in here. I pulled it in here just to keep it out of the weather the last day or two. So the snow blower's outside still. I haven't moved it since the chain broke. But because it's been clear today and warm and sunny, it's all clear. There's no snow on it. I'm gonna get some things shuffled around in here. I might even bring the other diesel Ranger in here just because most of the snow is cleared off of it. And I need to bring it in here soon. So I think I'll probably start it as well and take a minute to get it brought in here. Just so I don't have to unbury it from the snow again before I bring it in here. So I'm gonna take a minute, bring that sucker in here and park it underneath the tractor basically. That way it's in here tonight, so we don't have to worry about it being buried in snow overnight. that will give me time tomorrow to put the new chain on and be able to get the loader switched over and taken off and the snowblower mounted up tomorrow, because I'm sure I'm going to have to be snow blowing either tomorrow evening. I don't know, something. Ola's not working tomorrow, so that's good. But she does have to work Wednesday, and she has to leave here at 5 a.m. So that's going to be a good time.